Hello and welcome to yet another episode of The Fourth Estate, where we tackle all things journalism and media in Zimbabwe. My name is Faith Nyaude. Now, today we are talking about the role and impact of the media in environmental management. The media, due to its functional roles that are information, education, and to create awareness, has become the center stage of discussion and debates of various events or issues, including environmental management. Now, to help us unpack these issues, today I'm joined by Amkela Sidange, who is the Environmental Education and Publicity Manager with the Environmental Management Agency, EMA. Amkela, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really feel privileged to be here to talk about the Fourth Estate.
And now our topic today is environmental journalism and its challenges. Let's get straight into our discussion, with my first question being that we do know that the media does play a critical role in various spheres of our lives. We want us to talk specifically on the issue of the environment. Can you take us through what you think should be the role of the media in environmental management? And as the EMA, what would you like to see the media doing in terms of environmental protection or management?
I like the aspect that we are bringing the Fourth Estate into the issues of environmental management and protection to somebody that really might not make any sense. But as the Environmental Management Agency, we really prioritize the Fourth Estate. It remains very critical in our operation. For starters, we see the Fourth Estate is the center of information dissemination because when we look at environmental management as well as its protection, is just about changing the mindset of the members of the public, and the only way to change the mindset is actually to disseminate the correct information at the appropriate time. And we are saying this is one thing that the Fourth Estate can do, other than just basically disseminating information. We can also have the Fourth Estate actually raising the flag. We've got several issues that are happening in the environmental sphere, and if the Fourth Estate can actually take that role of raising the flag when issues happen, then we know that we are in the right footing. For starters, let's say probably there are issues to do with the shrimp and cultivation. Some people might think that is all appropriate, but if the Fourth Estate can quickly say, look here, the moment we are doing shrimp and cultivation, when it rains, there is a possibility of flooding when the rivers or the streams, they actually, we have them bursting their banks. So there are a lot of issues that the Fourth Estate can actually do.
Now, Amkela, various media have a two-pronged role. On one hand, they help explain the environmental policies and regulations and the plans to the public. And on the other hand, they reflect the concerns of the public regarding different environmental problems. Mm-hmm. And now that's the pressure, the decision makers to solve a specific environmental problem. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, do you think that the Zimbabwean media is being effective on both sides, or they're more on one side of the coin?
I think what remains critically is for us to balance the equation, to actually strike a balance whereby we get feedback from the members of the public, as well as probably setting the right tone. What I've often actually experienced in dealing with the media is that at times we might miss in actually amplifying on the specific roles that each one of us should play. Because if we look at the environmental management landscape, as it were, it's all about collective action. Collective action also derived from what legal instruments that we have are saying. If we look at the Constitution of Zimbabwe, Section 73, it talks about each citizen having a birthright to a clean environment that is not harmful to health. And if you read that together with the Environmental Management Act, Chapter 20.27, Section 4, where there are environmental principles and rights, it also says every citizen has got a birthright to a clean, safe and healthy environment. But then it goes on to explain in the next right that we all have a right to play a leading role in the management of the environment, especially when it comes into the law enforcement. So what I like about these rights is that one time they give you a right to enjoy, and at the same time they also give a right to actually create that enjoyment. So it means that when we look at environmental management, it actually takes both sides of the coin. You have to enjoy a clean environment, but at the same time play a critical role towards having that clean environment achieved. So what I'm trying to say here is, I would wish a situation whereby as the media tries to balance the equation, we also impress on this right, which also says, for me to enjoy a clean environment, I have to contribute towards the attainment of that clean environment.
Now, Amkela, I'm sure you would agree with me when I say that we have a youthful population that is ardent on using social media platforms, your X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, so on and so forth. As Emma, are you utilizing these social media platforms as a tool of communication? Because you're saying we have to be taking care of our environment in order to enjoy it. Now, we have users who are using these platforms. Are you utilizing them to communicate what you're just telling me now? Also, do you think that the Zimbabwean media is also effectively using these new media platforms to cultivate a good practice in environmental management?
I like the fact that you are bringing on board what we are traditionally calling social media. I, for one, I no longer believe that is all about social media, because that's where business is happening now. Those handles, the Twitters, whatever now called X, Facebook, you call it WhatsApp, that's where serious business goes. So you find that as the Environmental Management Agency, we are actually putting those into maximum use, because as an agency, we are found on X, we have a Facebook account, we have an Instagram account, we have also a YouTube account, and we are soon trying also to go to TikTok, because we want to understand that the future of this country lies in the youths, and it is the youths that so much are found in those spaces. So we are really utilizing them, and we are happy that we have realized that of late most media platforms, they are also using those. So there is a lot of interaction. You imagine, we tag each other, we share the posts, you know, it goes I mean to a lot of members of the public. So this is one thing that really we need to enforce as us technical departments and the media, and ensure that we really have this, we reach far and wide. But my only worry is, it is also high time that we don't forget the youths or whoever is able to use social media, but they are in the peripheral areas. We need to find a way of reaching out. Remember, as a country, we are working with a mantra of not leaving anyone and no place behind. So we need to strike a balance, reach a compromise on some of the platforms that we can use to reach those kind of populations, I mean people that are in the outlying areas.
Now, I'd like to believe that journalists play this role of trying to reach people in areas where they really cannot be accessing social media or those social platforms. But then there are some sectors within the environmental management who argue that Zimbabwean journalists are not, or the media in general, is not well equipped to be doing environmental reporting. As, for example, there's an interpretation of some scientific or technical data that needs to be done, environmental technical data that is, but then it becomes a huge task for journalists. What is your comment on that?
To a certain extent, that is very, very true, because as the Environmental Management Agency, we have seen that gap, and you'll find that of late we are really engaging the media players. We like for this year, we have done, I think, covered about 3 regions. We've done media workshops whereby we are trying to engage the media players to really understand or unpack especially the environmental laws, get a better understanding of the environmental law, such that at the end of the day, you are also able to unpack to the members of the public. So we have been doing that. I think very soon we are going to be having a workshop that is for Mashonaland West and Mashonaland Central, because we want to cover the whole country. Why are we doing that? We want media to really understand our approach, where we are coming from, such that at the end of the day, we make the members of the public really understand what environmental management and protection is all about. Other than that, I will also want to advocate for environmental reporting to be actually mainstreamed in the journalism curriculum, if that is possible. I'm not really sure whether we find such. Not really maybe environment alone, but we can actually have different themes mainstreamed into the journalism curriculum, such that at the end of the day, we have journalists that come out of these colleges ready to face the world and interpret everything correctly for the members of the public.
Now, I like the point that you raised to say you want this included in schools, universities, so that you get a background and feel of how you should be reporting. Because at the end of the day, it's not only EMA that is tasked with helping educate about the environment. Now, what sort of initiatives are you then now involved in to make sure that the media is adequately capacitated to report on the environment? Are you often engaging the media whenever you undertake environmental programs, or do you think that some environmental experts, including Emma, are always accessible to the media?
Maybe just to take you a little bit back, I think one thing that probably we need to highlight is that if you go to the schools as well as being up to tertiary level, we have really tried to have issues of environmental management mainstreamed. For example, as Emma, we contributed towards the compilation of certain textbook, geography textbook for O level, and A level, just to try and mainstream issues of environmental management. I think that is a good start. But going forward, like I've already pointed out, the issues of workshops are very, very critical, and they mustn't be a once-off thing, but they have to be very regular, up to a certain extent whereby we really are in agreement. There is no gap in the understanding of issues to do with environmental management, and also the issue of involving the journalist in platforms where there is engagement, back and forth engagement on issues of environmental management. Just recently, because we are trying to have a statutory instrument on waste management, which is going to amend certain current legal instrument. We had media coming on board because we want them to understand from that level, when the legal instrument, they are still being discussed. Maybe that can even give them the window to even contribute to the contents of these legal instrument. And I also want to believe that also incentivizing the journalists is quite critical. Imagine if we had to have some awards at the end of the day, just to make these journalists feel accommodated, feel wanted and relevant in the environmental reporting space. I think that is one way of doing things, and I want to believe as Emma, we are trying to push for more of such incentives.
Well, we do wait to see how these incentives do pan out. But for now, we're going to take a quick break. Do stay tuned.
Pangolins carry parasites and diseases that, if we trap them, can risk our lives. Up to 200,000 a year are killed illegally for meat and scales. At this rate, it won't be long until they disappear into thin air. Please say no to illegal bushmeat. Keep them wild. Keep us safe.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is the Fourth Estate. Thank you for staying with us. Today in studio, we have Amkela Sidange, who is the Environmental Education and Publicity Manager of the Environmental Management Agency, EMA. Now, Amkela, before the break, we're talking about how journalists are supposed to be helping media pass on the message of environmental awareness. Now, I want us to talk about issues on the ground. 1.5 degrees Celsius is the magic number as it is. If global warming is to transiently exceed 1.5 degrees in the coming decades or later, then many human and natural systems will face additional severe risk compared to the one that is below 1.05 degrees Celsius. How has climate change then affected environmental management?
I think for starters, let's agree that issues of climate change is no longer really something that we can call a fallacy. Climate change is real. And day by day, we are experiencing the impacts of climate change. Now, the relationship between climate change and environmental management is a two-way system. I know you want me to look at the other side, whereby climate change is actually affecting environmental management. But I want to first, just using just some few words, to quickly look at how climate change, or rather environmental management, can actually result in climate change. Some of the things that we are doing on a daily basis, but not realizing that they are contributing to climate change. Let's look at waste management, for example, the issue of improper disposal of waste, ending up having accumulation of greenhouse gases, methane, for example, resulting in spontaneous combustion, and we have all these carbon emissions resulting in global warming. Let's also look at the issues of probably the issues of wetlands destruction, the way we are degrading the wetlands. Wetlands are looked at as carbon sinks. Actually, statistics, they say there is no any other terrestrial ecosystem that stores carbon more than wetlands, which means if we are to protect wetlands, then we will win the war against climate change. So in a way, there are a lot of things that we are doing as a people, and that is contributing to climate change. Now, going back to your question, how climate change is actually affecting environmental management. Yeah, you realize that the environmental space is actually overwhelmed as a result of climate change. Let's take, for example, the issues of shortage of water. Due to climate change, we have unreliable rains, and we end up having a shortage of water. You find that people now go for moisture spaces, and such moisture spaces include wetlands, include rivers, include dams, and we end up having a lot of cultivation in these fragile ecosystems, further degrading them. So that is one way in which I can say climate change is really leading to unsustainable practices. Let's also look at probably due to less rain, and then we have poor agricultural production. People then tend to opt for other livelihood options, and such livelihood options, you find they are contained in the environment, meaning that the environment becomes a safety net, both socio-economic. For starters, let's look at how it is influencing illegal mining. At the moment, we are sitting on a statistic that says we've got about 1.5 million illegal miners. Right away, as we are sitting here, a lot is happening from these 1.5 million. And when we look at degradation levels, just statistics, they also point that about over plus or minus 100,000 hectares have been degraded. About 1,500 kilometers of riverine ecosystem has been affected, all due to illegal mining. And these are statistics that could be about a year old, meaning that if we look at what is obtaining, it could be far much higher. So this is all because people are looking for a livelihood option. So they now decide to eke a living out of this fragile ecosystem in an illegal manner. That is not all. Let's also look at the issues of just biodiversity, or rather ecosystem simplification. whereby we result in even biodiversity loss. How does this come about? There is no food at home because we did not harvest enough. Therefore, we need to go to probably firewood vending. Colleagues from Forest Commission, they will tell us they are overwhelmed because of firewood vending and a lot of deforestation. And this deforestation is happening to very young trees, so affecting the very youthful space within the forestry. So at the end of the day, all the simplification of the of the ecosystem result in biodiversity loss. We end up having out migration of certain species. Certain species, we can even talk of birds, because now they have no nesting space. They end up out migrating. Even animals, wild animals, they out migrate. And for your own information, further interrogation has actually shown that wild animals, they are now going into human spaces because we are affecting their habitat. They end up going into human spaces, and that can also be an issue that is contributing to human animal conflict that we are having. So there are a lot of things that really are happening as a result of climate change now impacting on the environmental management and protection landscape, as it were.
Now, Amkela, you have spoken a great deal about how most of this is happening because people are trying to earn a living. There's so little that we can do when it's in that regard. We talked earlier on about awareness. Let's make sure people are aware of what's happening. But is awareness really a strategy? Is it enough to get things done? Is it enough to try and save the environment? I mean, does your organization have laws? I mean, you sure do have laws, but then are the law enforcement officers really taking this seriously? What happens then when when businesses and individuals do not toe in line? What are the local authorities doing about it? What are enforcement officers doing about it? Do you also think that the media has any role to play when it comes to enforcement? While they cannot be out there arresting people who break these laws, can they be doing something?
Yeah, I think, yeah, you said a lot of things that I need to touch on, but allow me to start off by saying the issue of awareness really remains critical. Actually, it's the first port of call, because everything that we are doing is all in the mind. Just imagine somebody who throws away litter. It's not that the person does not know anything about the issues of illegal dumping, but at times it's just the mindset. It's your mind that tells you to do something that is not sustainable. So I still want to impress that awareness remains critical, and then law enforcement follows when people fail to comply with what is there. You have raised the issue of what are local authorities doing, what should the media do, what should EMA do, what should other law enforcement agencies do. Like I did point out, remember the rights issue, the mathematics around the rights that I raised, that in as much as me and you have got a right to something, like to benefit from something, we also have a right to contribute to that benefit. So when we talk about all these entities and sectors, is that collective, the collective approach that I talked about, that it needs all of us, all our hands on the deck, such that at the end of the day, we are able to achieve this. Looking at the Environmental Management Agency, we have all the necessary tools to enforce the law, but alone we cannot win everything, we cannot achieve everything. We need all of us on board, me and you, the media, especially when it comes to the law, to the issues of law enforcement. You can come on board to unpack the law to the people. It's not only EMA that should do that. Remember, EMA protects the environment through the people, with the people. So we need to do this together. Imagine going out into the rural areas there to just have a bioscope session that is trying to unpack a certain legal instrument. That will really go far. So I want to believe the Fourth Estate can remain very, very relevant there, especially in unpacking the law, as well as just raising a red flag when something is not going well. That is when we are looking at the issues of law enforcement. You have a very big role to play.
Now, Amkela, unfortunately, we're running out of time. Would have loved to sit here and continue talking more about this issue of waste management and the MR issues of the municipalities and so on and so forth. There's a lot that is involved right here. But then, what is your final message to Zimbabweans, to the municipalities, to the media in general? What are you saying before we wrap it up?
I think what I can only say that it takes all of us to win the war. Actually, there is no war because it's all about our mindset. If we can try to instill in our people that responsible behavior to always do things right. Just imagine the waste that we are having outside here. Where did it come from? It did not come from animals. It came from me and you. If only we could have been responsible, if only we could be responsible, change our mindset and understand that the clean, safe and healthy environment that we are calling a birthright, we can only achieve if we act accordingly.
Well, that was Amkela Sidange for you. We've had an exciting episode right here on Fourth Estate. Thank you so much for joining us. A big shout out to my guest, like I said, Amkela Sidange, who is the Environmental Education and Publicity Manager for the Environmental Management Agency, EMA. This was Fourth Estate, where we tackle everything journalism and media right here in Zimbabwe. I've been your host, Faith Nyaude. Good night and happy viewing.